Happy Devils Wednesday. This is the State of the Fan Address, episode 278, titled Help on Its Way for Devils. I don't know if that's grammatically correct, but apparently there's help coming. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with pucksandpitchforks.com editor-in-chief Nick Villano, streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, X Live, and Twitch on the Let's Go Devils Network, as we are 900,000 downloads and counting now. 900,000. 900,000.
Big number.
You know our million
Really
party.
big numbers right here.
You know our million party is just going to be absolutely insane.
I'm excited. We have to try to predict what it's going to be so we can plan.
Let's see here. Let's see. I'm thinking it's going to hit around February. And February is a lean month.
Yeah.
This year, this season for games. But 900,000 is no slouch, thanks to you, the viewers, that download on their morning and afternoon commute on the Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music Prime, Audible, iHeart app, wherever you get the podcast, the audio version. But it's a significant milestone because we're in Season 8 right now, Nick. And we're dealing with the same problems with the New Jersey Devils.
Yeah. I mean, I want to kind of go back, though, to September, Sam. I think it was September. Well, we both said this was going to happen. We both said October was going to... I said it was going to suck. It hasn't sucked. They're what are they, 5-3-1? Or 5-4-1? 5-3-1. They're on a 100-point pace. 100 points. We would have killed for 100 points last season. They're on the 100-point pace. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that yesterday wasn't terrible and brought up some serious issues. I'm not going to tell you that Caps game, they're lucky to get out with a point, and Nico Hischier went Superman on them. But last night was one of those nights where literally, first of all, Jake Allen looked locked in. I jinxed it. I said on Twitter he was locked in, and then he went psycho mode, but in the worst possible way. He allowed 8 goals. He really didn't. I mean, some of them were really,
that one was just. I don't know. I thought Bryce
didn't move.
I thought Bryce and Danico and Bill Spalding were giving him too many excuses. I mean, that's just a lack of focus right there.
Are you talking about the one off the boards?
Yeah. I know it's one of those things, but good goaltenders look out for that.
He also didn't look desperate to stop it, right?
Yeah.
He didn't dive or when he realized, he just kind of stared at it and watched it go in the net.
Yeah, Marty did that.
I don't even think he reacted.
Marty, if you remember in the Stanley Cup, I know it's the Stanley Cup Finals, but it's apples and oranges, but, there was a couple flubs he had against the Anaheim Ducks, Marty.
Okay, but
and he dove
the famous one. Yeah, the famous one is the one where he dropped his stick. It rolled so perfectly on the curve of his stick and went faster than anybody could have thought. It gained momentum, almost like how a bullet works in a gun. Mm-hmm. It was, the spinning got faster and it went right between his legs, and he did turn around and he just got tripped up. You have too much equipment to make it work. But again, that was still terrible. Brodeur should not have let that happen, at all. But the Allen thing, we've seen it happen before. The Barty thing, I'd never seen happen before in my life. The Allen thing, we've seen it Karam weirdly off the boards and go right in the net, and he just didn't react well. There was the one that, it got tipped up high, and it went through his legs, and he stayed in the standing position and he just kind of like just slowly went past him. Um, there was the one from Braden Point where he just kind of sniped the top, the ceiling, and like it was a good shot, but like I don't know, like, and again he was in a very high danger area, so like sure, but there was just like did you know that the Devils had more high danger chances in the second period than the Lightning? In that
Yeah.
dreadful second period, the Devils had more high quality chances. And like you would have never guessed. But the Devils, like, they had these pockets where they were really good and they were really bad for most of the period. And the difference was goaltending. And it's one thing to have Vasilevsky in the net, but it was Jonah Johansson. It was a battle of the backups. And Allen had been really good coming into this game. He just, this is why Allen's a backup. Because there are days where it just goes to hell. And I have news for you, Sam. A lot of people are asking, why did Jake Allen stay in there? I think the 3 and 4 nights that's coming up this weekend probably has something to do with it. But I got to be honest, Sam. That condition and his trade is a black cloud over this team this year. They are so worried that Jacob Markstrom is going to get hurt, but because they're worried that he's going to get hurt. So for those who don't know, the condition on the Jake Allen trade is that if he plays 40 games this year, the Devils have to give the Canadians their second round pick. So clearly they don't want to stack up the front. And I think it's changing their decision making. I truly do. Like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just going kind of helter-skelter. But it just, like, the way they're playing Jacob Markstrom versus Allen. Allen's been better up until before last night. But then, I don't know if he was cold. There's just something. Like, last night was just, it's been a while since I've seen a goalie play like that, right? Where it just seemed like he didn't know where the puck was. Like, Vanacek was bad, but that's because he, like, overcommitted. He was skating all over the face. He was frantic. But Allen just, like, didn't know what was going on. Suffice to say, Sam, that's why I'm not that worried. Like, last night was clearly a mess. And the Devils didn't show up to play. There seemed to be better spirits today in practice. There was some clapping when Luke Hughes and Brett Pesce were in the middle of the circle doing the stretch, and I think that's what you're alluding to with the title of the show tonight, that Luke Hughes and Brett Pesce are close. And I do think that that's going to really help. We'll get to that in a second, but it seems like you can really... I mean, if I'm Sheldon Keefe, I'm using last night as a pivot point. Be like, you thought you were a good team. Look what you did against a good team. This team is it's interesting when you look at the teams they beat. Do you know Buffalo's 2-2-1 outside of those Prague games? I don't know if this is still true, but last I checked, Ottawa was 3-1. Besides the game where we whooped on them, I think Utah is 4-0-1 or 4-1-1 outside of the games we played them, and these might have been updated based on the Frozen Frenzy last night, but these are teams that are having good starts. And then Washington, they really made us fight for the point that we got on Saturday, but we beat them pretty handedly in the game before that. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to think of, like, what's a better adjective? Like, concerned? Like, I noticed that there's something wrong, and it's just like a dishevelment, right, of the team. I guess, you know what? Let's talk about the hit. Eric Cernak's hit on Just for Brat seemed to change the momentum. I'm not a guy who buys into this. If a hockey team needs a big hit to, like, make them play better. They're not a good hockey team, and Tampa's a good hockey team. Like, I just don't think that they care. I think that's just how they play the game. And the hit was good. Like, it was a good, solid hit. I don't think there was anything illegal about it. I think Cernak stayed on the ice. I think that's the big thing here. And do you want them to stay? Like, yeah, sure, Brendan Dillon could have fought him or could have got an instigator, like whatever. But this isn't a team that's getting pushed around like it was last year. Like, that's just a misnomer. Like, you just saw a big hit. And again, like last night's a terrible example because Tampa. What I said actually in the middle of the first period is Tampa's playing exactly how New Jersey wants to. It's almost like the Devils are rookies at this style hockey, and Tampa's playing on Guitar Hero.
And we lost Nick for a quick minute. I will finish Nick's thought. You're back?
Yeah. Okay. I guess so. You hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, but Tampa is just everything that the Devils want to be. They want to be a forechecking team. They want to cause turnovers. They want to really ramp it up. But Tampa is like so much better than the Devils at that right now because they've been doing it for 6, 7, 8 years. You know, I guess that's probably not exactly. They've been doing it since 2020, 2019, 2020. They learned a few things in that sweep at the hands of Columbus about.
Yeah. Well, Max is asking about can we talk about the Dawson Mercer penalty call? I thought that was the second momentum shift of the game. Unfortunately for the New Jersey Devils, because that was just a bad call. Going hard to the net. That's what you teach players to do, and but again, the Devils put themselves in that position. But I don't know. I think these refs sometimes suck. And getting to your point about big hits. I mean, some teams thrive over that hit. I mean, the New York Rangers last season were thriving over, Matt Rempe taking out another player illegally and getting away with it.
Do you really think that they need that?
Who, the Devils?
No, like just hockey players in general.
I think this is what I think, and this is based on experience many, many years ago, that you don't go out there to make a big hit to get your teammates going. But I think what it does is, because the game itself is emotional and it's very grueling, that when you see one of your teammates lay another teammate out, it kind of hits the reset button, and your sole focus, it just kind of simplifies the game. Hey, we can do this. We can do this. Big hits in general. Scott Stevens and Eric Lindros. That was one of the biggest hits in NHL history. In the Eastern Conference Finals, Game 7 in Philadelphia, it took the wind. The building was quiet. You can hear a pin drop.
Yeah, like the All Korea hit, the Devils lost that game like 5-2.
But they were already losing at that moment. They were already losing, and Paul Korea.
2-1?
What's that?
Was it 2-1 at that point?
I don't remember.
I kind of remember it getting much worse after that hit.
Yeah, but again, but you can make an argument that hit set up for Game 7. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. But a big hit, a big hit. I don't know if you're on the bench and you see a big hit there, then it just resets the mind.
Yeah, I think it does. I agree with you with the focus part, right? Where it's just like it kind of like It's like, if you're like, all right, I need to do this in this next shift, and then I have to do this, like we're down by 3 goals or whatever. Like, however, like your brain's thinking, a big hit can like bring everything together and like singular your focus. Be like, oh, all right, like we just gotta focus on one thing at a time. I mean, it's fair. It's fair.
I'll make an example. Not that I'm like Al Bundy and Polk High, but I remember there was a play. I was on the PK. I was playing the wing, and I was covering the guy on the point. And I remember him fanning on a shot, and I laid him out, and he fell. And then all of a sudden, I had that one-on-one, the other way, down the ice because no one was back, with the goaltender. That kind of thing. Your teammates are like patting you on the back. You felt good about that. And during that time, I barely got any playing time, but somehow I was on the PK at that moment. So that could be a confidence booster as well. Just a big hit.
Yeah. Yeah, I was known as a big hitter when I played lacrosse. So
I wish I played lacrosse against you. I was a goalie. And
really?
And I would hit as a goalie too. Believe it or not, I feel old. The rules changed in high school in lacrosse when I played, and the goalies had like, I don't know, you could just like fool around with the ball all day long. There was no time limit.
Yeah.
And then they changed it to the 10-second rule. I forgot what it was. And but half of the times I wasn't even net. I was kind of like that fourth defenseman out there.
Yeah. When we had a really good goalie. I played defense the first year, and I was pretty good at defense. I even got to play a little varsity in that first year, just like a smattering, but like that was rare at the time. But I didn't get along with my coach. Just think about me with like teenage hormones. It just wasn't a good combination. So it was kind of
with the 6-foot shaft.
Right. Yeah, it was not great.
Did
So
you have a wood stick? Or titanium?
No, I don't
Aluminum?
think we were allowed to have wood sticks. I think we had to have aluminum stick.
That tells you how old I am. We
were
allowed to have wood sticks.
Maybe we were, but I definitely had an aluminum stick. But I was decent. But like I got on varsity, and then I think I talked crap to my coach, and they demoted me on the JV team. So I was playing a little varsity, and they demoted me on the JV team, so other people would get a chance to play varsity. By the time I made it the next year, the defenseman spots were all taken. So I went to play, and then long stick midi, those spots were taken too from there was a bunch of returning starters. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll just play midi. But then they're like, no, you're going to play attack. I was like, I'm a big hitter who doesn't shoot well. Like, this is not the thing for me. So it was, but anyway, I would thrive off big hits, whether it's from the midi position or the defensive position. But it was almost because it was like, that's, and I think this is the same thing for like the Rempies of the world and the Trubas and the Cernaks, where it's like, this is what I contribute. This is my job. So, but it kind of goes back to that conversation about momentum. Like, do you think momentum actually exists in professional sports? And do you think do you think so let's talk about the moment that Dawson Mercer penalty happened. Do you think the Lightning were feeling pressure at that moment because it was 6-4 at the time? And they still had a 2-goal lead, right? But the Devils had erased, 6-2 at the break?
Yeah.
The Devils scored 2 pretty quick goals. Do you feel like they started to feel pressure? Do you think like there was like that momentum swing? Like, do you find that true, or do you think like, because you saw as soon as Mercer got the penalty, Tampa scored immediately. on that penalty.
Well, the Devils got down on themselves over something that was BS. Their focus was on the refs at that quick moment. Tampa, being kind of the veteran team they are, took advantage. I mean, it's very simple. I mean, honestly, I've been on record saying this without any kind of without being in the locker room, but there's something at the Prudential Center that they're doing to these players, because I think they're just coddling them too much, because there's no reason why they're so bad at home and lack of focus than on the road. I mean, they're just a much better road team. And when they went out to Europe, heck, they went 2-0, and then they come back, and opening night, who did they play? They played Toronto.
Well, yeah, Toronto.
And they got their butts kicked in, didn't they? You got the red carpet event.
I've truly been trying to figure this out for 3 years.
Well, I honestly think that the organization itself has so much marketing initiatives that has nothing to do with winning. As it more of sales and marketing.
Yeah, but every team has this.
Yeah, but not to the extent to the Devils. I mean, you've got Amanda Stein. I mean, it's like basically the players are believing their press release coming from their team. It's like I bet you their egos get stroked so much, by the team, by ownership and all that they forgot one thing, and is to win. That's what I think. Because nobody else can give me a better answer. So I'm still sticking with mine for the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard the distraction argument just in general. Because, they have families that they have to tend to. They have signings they have to go to. They have, like you said, marketing opportunities that they have to take part in. They have charity obligations. There's a lot of obligations that don't exist on the road.
Yeah, and Lou Lamoriello is great.
On the road, it's just a focused.
Lou Lamoriello's great because he stops that crap right off the bat. No Twitter, nothing.
I mean, a lot of these guys don't really do social media either, though. It's not like they have what the heck's his face? He's in Russia now.
Well, back in the day was
Tony
that guy,
D'Angelo.
Well, you remember back in the day, Connor, what was his name? Had his podcast, and then there was Dougie's making videos, all that. I don't want any of that. And then they got their charity event. They do that. What's that sport? With The Rock.
Can Jam. Oh, The Rock.
You know what I'm talking about? Where they squeegee. Curling. They got their curling, event every year.
But again, every team does this.
Not every team.
Can't be that
no. I don't believe it.
Every team. I don't. It doesn't matter if you believe it. Every team does this.
New York Islanders do this kind of stuff to this extent?
Yeah, they do. Literally, Anders Lee is doing a charity event this week.
All right.
He's doing the same one that Brandon Smith did last year that I interviewed him about.
Yeah. Well, the point is,
it's Lou has said that it's a brand new world, and that he's just trying to navigate it. But again, you're also using the most extreme example. Okay, maybe the Islanders do less, but they don't do none. And every other team, again, I think the in-house marketing demands are probably a little bit more on the Devils than other places, but all the other demands, like the radio interviews, the signings, the opening of Walmarts, all those other things, they're bigger in Chicago, they're bigger in Los Angeles, they're bigger in Toronto, they're bigger in Ottawa. These guys in those markets are, maybe not LA, but they are the stars. They're the biggest thing. That's not the deal. So I actually think when you take it in totality of the demands that these guys are facing, also they're young, so they don't have families. They don't have kids at home. A lot of them. Some of them do, but Jack Hughes doesn't have kids at home. I don't think Nico Hischier has a kid, right? He's one kid. I think he just had a kid.
Oh, but I don't know. I don't want to give these guys any more excuses. I mean, the bottom line.
We'll try to take the excuse away.
Well, the bottom line is, I just think there's just just lack of focus when they're at home. That's all I'm trying to say.
But that's almost a lack of respect. Like, these are the customers that you truly care about.
What are you talking about? I'm lack of respect?
No. If they're not focused at home, these are the fans paying for you.
Okay, all right. Sorry, I misunderstood.
No, yeah, no. The if that's the case, if it's truly a lack of focus at home, then it's a lack of respect for the entire situation. Whether you want to call it a lack of respect for the fans or for the process or whatever. And I don't want anybody putting words in my mouth. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but I'm saying if this, then that. If you are not focused at home, but you are focused on the road, and this has been a situation for years, there's a lack of respect for the fan base. There just is. And I get as mad at this fan base as anyone else. Sometimes I just want to with the fan base, but it mostly comes from a place of frustration and passion. And when you're a team like the Devils, like, you should appreciate that, and you should value that. And they talk all the time how much they do like the fans, and it's true. Like, you said it yourself. There's a very loud chants when that Dawson Mercer penalty came in. They had a sellout on a Monday afternoon for Indigenous Peoples Columbus Day, whatever the heck it's called anymore. This the fan base is showing up. So this home no-show nonsense has to end. You gotta do they. So they don't have any wins at home yet, right? Or was that Utah game at home? The Utah game was at home. So they have a 1 win at home. You can't. So that makes them 1-2-1 at home, right? In Prudential Center, I know one of the Prague games was technically a home game, but in the Prudential Center, they're 1-2-1.
Yeah, I mean, they lost badly to the Capitals. You know,
They lost in overtime.
So, actually, was that at home? Yeah, that was.
They beat the Capitals in Washington. That was their home opener. They lost badly to the Maple Leafs at home. I think that's what you're thinking of.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? To me, they're 1-3. I don't like this BS overtime or whatever.
Whatever. They have one in 4 games. They have 1 win.
Yep.
So I do want to. We're already at 9:00. I want to get to Luke Hughes and Brett Pesce, and why I'm optimistic, straight up because of them. One of the biggest reasons last night went so terribly wrong is because the Devils can't get out of their zone. Can't do it. Right now, Dougie Hamilton leads the league in giveaways. Can't happen. I know they've played more games, but everybody else is pretty much caught up. They're only like 1 game ahead or 2 games ahead of most teams. Some teams are 3 games ahead, but most of them it's 1 or 2. Dougie Hamilton has 18 giveaways according to Money Puck this season. More than any other player. Jonas Siegenthaler's 3rd on that list. And then you have 5 players in the top 20. It can't happen. And again, I get the volume. I get people are going to catch up, but this team can't be turning the puck over. The eye test shows you they're turning the puck over more than a normal team. And it's not Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes is, I think he's 23rd in the league. So, but you expect that from Jack Hughes because there's a give and take with him. There's no give and take with Jonas Siegenthaler. Dawson Mercer can't be giving the puck away like he has. And I tend to not be one of the ones who's been on Dawson Mercer like others, but when it comes to the giveaways, he has to clean that up. And the problem is, in the past, it's been this volatile level of hockey. In 2022-23, the Devils had a lot of giveaways, but they had a lot of takeaways, which led to odd man rushes, which led to breakaways, which led to big plays. Now, the only time you're seeing those big plays is if the Devils cheat behind it and they cherry pick and they get a pass to that guy. You're not seeing them steal the puck and run the other way. And here's where I'm coming from. Luke Hughes, he gives the puck away a lot too, but he's a zone exit machine. And there's a reason for this, Sam. I want to make sure I say this correctly. I want to say he led all defensemen in 20-mile-per-hour bursts last season, and I think he was second amongst all players in the fastest burst period. And I'm getting all these stats from the NFL Edge app, or not the app, the NFL Edge site, which is actually really good. It's got some really cool features in there, just about player speed and things like that. But Luke Hughes' speed forces the other team to think twice about challenging him. Because if they miss, he's the other way. And we've seen him go coast to coast on multiple occasions and score a goal. So you have to, it's almost like Tyreek Hill. You have to just have a little insurance in the back of your mind. You have to take a step back. So I think that guys are going to skate a step or two back from a defensive standpoint, and it'll be easier to exit the zone just in general, or the pass, or with Luke Hughes just skating it out. With Pesci doesn't turn the puck over at all. Last season, he turned the puck over a total of 18 times. I just told you that Hamilton has already got that number this season. Pesci did that all last year. I know he missed some time with injury, but all of last year, I think he played 70 games. All of last year, you have 18 turnovers. Hamilton has 18 this season. I think you should pair Hughes and Pesci together, because I think the threat of Hughes' speed will keep the other team honest, and the way that Pesci plays the game, and with the same responsibility, I think they will cancel each other's out, because Pesci's not that fast as far as bursts go. It's just not one of his strengths. But the other team can't take advantage of that, because if you got Luke Hughes on there, you got probably the fastest defenseman in the league. So if you pair them together, and then you got to take Dylan off the Hamilton pair. So you put Siegenthaler back with Hamilton. You sit them down and you say, this is your focus is to stop turning the puck over together. You put them in a box and be like, you both have a job to get the puck out. Because I think that's also the problem, is that I think so far in Sheldon Keefe's system, I've seen this trend of guys falling in a box and then trying to make a play, and if it's not there, they just try to force the play, and that's why they can't get the puck out of the zone. So I think that Dougie Hamilton's the guy trying to get the puck out of the zone in normal times, and Siegenthaler, when he's with Kovacevic, is trying to get the puck out of the zone with him. You put them together, you kind of change their mindset a little bit, and then that third pairing could be Dylan, and then you make a decision. Do I want it to be Kovacevic? Do I want it to be Nemitz? I think you got to send Nemitz down to Utica. 2 reasons. 1, Nemitz needs a reset and he needs to recover, so give him some time against lesser competition to kind of figure those things out. 2, Utica's bad. I think they're 0-4, 0-5, something like that. Utica's having a dreadful season. You kind of have to, there are important players down there. You don't want it to just go to hell. So you give them Casey, you give them Nemitz, you give them back Monsieur. They already have Villano down there. You got a good goalie, Nico Dawes and Poitier. Their offense is a problem, but I think Nemitz and Casey will drive offense from the back end. And then you play Kovacevic for 3 or 4 weeks, and then you bring Nemeth back up. I think that's the situation that makes the most sense. And then you got Dylan and Kovacevic, so that's a nice little shutdown pair. Everybody's playing the
I'm
right
not
hands.
sold on Nemeth at all. I think he may be a bust.
He's 20.
I think he may be a bust.
Based on what? There's nothing to go off of. He's also coming off a shoulder injury.
My gut. I wanted Logan Cooley, and he is looking pretty good right now.
What is Cooley done? I'm not familiar. What has Cooley done this season?
Look,
I
awesome.
wanted Shane Wright. So I wanted Shane Wright, but
well, is he even in the league?
I have no idea. But I almost stand by it just because of I think for one thing, and like maybe this is like a weak-minded thing, but I think if he only fell to 2, I think Shane Wright just kind of goes into this with a much different mindset instead of falling to 4. And I'm just looking to see if he's he's in the league. He's played 7 games. He's got 1 goal, 1 assist. But I think like the way he plays and how good he is at faceoffs would pair so well with Jack Hughes, and like I think that they'd be together forever, and would just make the best out of their situation. But Wright is a fringe NHL player right now, as is Nemeth. Cooley, I'm now curious to see what Cooley's done.
Well, he's on a team that's kicking some butt right now.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't say anything about him though.
Yeah, but have you watched him?
He's got 6 assists. He has no goals, but he has 6 assists. So he's
looking
having
good
a decent,
though.
yeah.
He's got more assists than Nemeth.
Here's the problem with Cooley though, is I feel like he's just like a lesser Jack Hughes, and you just don't need these smaller guys doing the same thing. You know what I mean?
I would have loved to have Heischer, Hughes, and Cooley down the middle for 10 years. You spent your 2nd overall pick on Nemeth. I know D guys take a little time and all that kind of stuff, but I think Nemeth was more of a mid first round, 2nd round.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong. So do you think Nemeth was bad last year?
I think, in fairness to Nemeth, I think that he was put in an unfair situation. Again.
But it's a yes or no question.
And what was the question again?
Do you think he was bad last year?
I think it was bad. I'm not saying he sucks, but 2nd overall
a bust, like Holtz is a bust.
Yeah. 10th. What was he? 7th overall. Holtz. You're talking about 2nd overall. I expect him to be in the league.
Wasn't a great draft. Slavkovsky went first, and he's fine. Like you said, Cooley. There's talent there. Don't get me wrong. And then there's Dorishik. So there was clearly a top 5 there. Let's see. It's way early, and truly, I know you hate the excuses, but that shoulder injury, I do think he rushed back. But I think what happened was, while we were waiting on news of Luke Hughes, I think Nemeth knew that Luke Hughes was hurt. So he rushed back to be ready for camp because he knew the Devils were already down 1 dynamic young defenseman. But I don't think he's 100%. My issue with him is just I think he's overcompensating for the shoulder injury. He is so often pinching and then staying there and trying to make a play when his team doesn't have possession. When he just needs to go get back on defense. But he's like trying to like poke the puck away or steal the puck. And it shows like a lack of confidence in his ability. And I think that has to do with the injury. But I
don't think Nemitz is going to have I mean, maybe bust is a hard word, but a bust for a second overall. That's all.
If he's like a Brian Rafalski his whole career, is that a bust?
No.
Or like a Paul Martin?
Again,
I could really see Paul Martin. I know they're different like builds, but just the way they play the game. Like offense,
but
yeah,
Nick,
but like
you had the second overall pick.
I'm asking you. I'm asking you.
The second overall pick.
I'm asking you if that's a bust. Is it Paul Martin a bust?
As a second overall pick?
Yeah.
No, but barely no. My expectations are high. My expectations are high. I think he's going to be Capo Caco bust.
I don't think it's going to be that. You also have to give credit. Luke Hughes looks like the best player in his draft. So, if Nemitz ends up being the 10th best guy in his draft, the value's not there, right? You overdrafted somebody, but in the context, there's ebbs and flows to this. So
I think where it's going to get really interesting, because you also have to look at the fact is, okay, forget about the individual, because we're talking about individual players here, but look at the fact that can Nemitz help the team? And Seamus Casey is just like lurking out there. He's in the second round. And I have a feeling that possibly Casey will be outperforming Nemitz.
I mean, it's possible. Casey's really good.
Yeah, so, right now, they're humbling Casey by sending him down to AHL.
He had things to work on. He did.
Of course he did. But that's what I meant, humbling.
Yeah.
But
okay.
But, again, this is Casey's first year in the NHL. Nemitz, okay, he could use some work down in the AHL because he wasn't afforded that luxury last season.
Yeah.
He got called up on pretty much on an emergency basis. So, again, it's
for a team that was in desperation mode from the second he got here.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't have any bodies at that point. So, again, I don't want to be like doom and gloom here, but again, do I like Nemitz? Yeah, I like him but second overall, ugh, I'm still having trouble with it because
it's way early.
Because you know how these GM lies. Oh, we went for the best available, so we picked Shimon Nemitz. It's like BS. He wasn't the best available. Logan Cooley was.
Right, they just didn't want a center.
Who cares?
Which is silly now because they yeah. But again, you could argue that Shane Wright was the best available because he was supposed to go number 1 overall.
Oh, wow. There's a reason why Shane Wright didn't get picked.
Yeah. I do wonder how different this team is because they were taking Slafkovsky. Everybody I spoke to said they were taking Slafkovsky. And then, because everybody thought that Montreal was going to take the center, right? They're going to take Shane Wright. This is a slam dunk. But then they took Montreal took Slavkovsky, which looks like the right move, right? Slavkovsky is at least an NHL player, and a good one. Is he a number one overall pick? I don't know, but he's definitely closer to it than Shea Wright has been so far. But usually, Sam, I would dismiss you right away because I do think this is insanely early. But after what happened with Holtz, I don't like year 1 to year 2 regression. I don't like seeing that. And that has to be addressed drastically, which is why I'm saying send him to Utica. At least he can, lean on his skill in Utica. I don't think he's bad conceptually, so I'm okay with you going down to Utica and trying to just outskill everybody. Because you can do that. Supremely talented player, Nemitz is. But and Kovacevic has been better. That's the other part we haven't talked about. Kovacevic, he hasn't been as good the last 3 games as he was the first 5, but you got a pattern here of him being pretty good.
Well,
it's 9-17, Sam. Do we have any questions that we have to get to, or?
Well, I mean, just one last thing about Simon Notes. I'd be more forgiving on it if he was 6'5", 6'6". He's a 6'1" D guy. I think he, I don't know. I think he gets run over too many times. But a lot of these big forwards. But again, he's still young, so you can't say, that's the knock on him yet. There's still time, but second overall pick, that's all I have to say.
I'm not begrudging you. I'm not there yet. I'm not even close to there yet. I'm so far away from there yet, but you're somebody who gets there faster than me. Always.
I'm the Woostradamus is what Scotty says.
Well, don't predict that our second overall pick is going to bust.
Well, but here's the deal with Fitzgerald, to his credit, though. Righties that play D at trade deadline come at a premium. And those are kind of like assets that he keeps on talking about. It has value, whether the guy's a bust or not. Just saying.
If you're gonna give up, if you're giving that up, you have to get it has to be a super duper star. It has to be a Matthew Tkachuk. It has to be I'm not saying Austin Matthews, but it has to be
Brady Tkachuk. Those rumors.
Yeah, if you're getting Brady Tkachuk in a Simon Nemitz deal, then I'm fine with it.
Well, it wouldn't be straight. It wouldn't be 1-for-1. Obviously, he would be a big part of the deal. To Ottawa if you ever did that deal. But what I'm saying is not if you did the deal now or 5 years from now, Simon Nemitz's value will be decently high.
For sure. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Who was that second overall pick that the Devils got that was a defenseman that they got from, I think it was from Minnesota? Remember they got him and he was like a tweener pick and he just never – they were trying to see if a change of scenery would help him. Man, it was 2020.
Oh.
No, this was much later than that. This was Ryan – maybe it was Columbus.
Oh, not Ryan. What's his name? I know who you're talking about. He was a bust too.
He was a bust.
Serviceable. Murray.
Ryan Murray.
Yeah.
Ryan Murray. He didn't have much value anymore. I think they got him for like a 4th-round pick.
I think
that's what you want to avoid.
Well, they held on to him too long, Columbus.
But again, we thought we did that with Holtz. And we turned him into Paul Cotter and a draft pick. And Paul Cotter looks really good. Really good. Looks like everything that this team has been needing. But anyway, that's all I got, Sam, unless you got a question for me.
No, I don't have a question. I do have one thing to say, though. Well, actually, let's do plugs, and I'll do my one thing to say.
Okay. Pucksandpitchforks.com right now. We have, we have stories galore. Jenny Streeter, Jack Schiller, Jersey Joe, Luke Garrison, all of Vinny Parisi, all have pieces out right now. Various topics, what to do with defense. It's not as bad as it looks right now. What we think of Sheldon Keefe's coaching over the first 8 games. We talk about a plethora of topics. And then I kind of went in depth about the Luke Hughes thing and about how his speed is what this team needs. I also I looked at like the things that Sheldon Keefe has and he's been leaning on. They didn't have in Toronto. I wrote that on Monday, so go check that out. But I'll have more pieces for you over the next couple days and weeks, and months and years, because I'm never going anywhere. I'm just going to keep writing. And then if you get a chance, I wrote an NFL trade piece on Fansided for the front page. So give that a read. Yeah. I didn't get DeAndre Hopkins right. I had the Chiefs going after Tyler Lockett. I thought more things would happen by now when I wrote it. But right now, as soon as we're done with this podcast, Sam, I'm going to write about some fantasy football. So all you fantasy heads out there, I'm going to tell you who you should be trading for in this fantasy trade deadline. So that should come out by tomorrow. Should come out by tomorrow.
All right. Well, that's great. Just to let everybody know, I've recovered from the Taylor Ham episode. Beer Baron and I suffered for 2 days, man, and it cost us a couple. Man. It cost us a couple podcasts because we were in bad shape. We were in bad shape.
Hey, listen, sometimes you just gotta cleanse.
I will.
We used to call that the Taco Bell cleanse.
Well, I will say though, I give credit where credit's due because I've been very critical of the Devils, but somebody from Prudential Center actually reached out.
Very nice.
I told the story, where, and I didn't even know that Beer Baron actually bought it as well. We were actually we didn't buy it together. It turned out we were in 2 separate places where you could buy the Taylor Ham, and we both had the same exact description where it was just disgusting. So buyer beware. I'm sure the Devils and Prudential Center are rectifying the issue. Hopefully it's isolated. I'm hoping to hear back from them to say, hey, this is what we've done to improve, so I can go back in there. Maybe I'll do a little short video of my Taylor Ham experience because the opening night Taylor Ham was freaking fantastic. The one against the Caps, I rather wear a Rangers jersey than have eat that because it was disgusting. And at the Giants game, because I went to the Giants game the next day, I was like dry heaving and throwing up. Sucked.
Yeah.
And going to the bathroom every 30, 40 minutes.
Oof.
So enough of that. Also, big stage Sunday. We got some musical acts, surprise guests, because we decided our good friend of the podcast, Matt, who's a fan of the podcast, that's how we met, sang on the big stage, at the Capitals Devils game last Saturday. It was a big hit. Great singer on the stage. So we're adding that musical component, Nick. that we always talked about. So, Max, thank you. You can send a bottle of Pepto. I'll give you my address for that. Thank you. But, yeah, we're going to have musical acts. And, as we're at 900,000 plus downloads, heading to 1 million, we're going to have that million party. We had a 500,000 party about a year and a half ago. That million party, Nick, we got to go all out. It's got to be like one of the best parties of the century.
I might send an invite to every single guest we've ever had.
Yeah. The 1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not, right?
Yeah. Maybe we'll get Erica Walker to show up. Maybe she'll show up.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Or Sherry Ross. Nah, she won't come. Yep. Okay. Well, gonna hit the button, Nick. So I want to thank all those tuning in. Go to pucksandpitchforks.com for all the latest. And lots of podcasts tomorrow, Game Day Live and Devils After Dark. Sorry for the technical difficulties. It's hard to fix equipment when you eat bad Taylor ham and egg. That's my excuse. Alrighty, everybody. Till next time, let's go Devils.